Football is back. Football is back, folks. Ooh, that landed on there perfectly. Football is back, folks, and the Cowboys lose in the season opener. What else is new here? What else is new in the internet? What a game, though. What a game it was for Thursday Night Football to kick off the 2021 season. That was a really good game. And in all honesty, I think that the Cowboys are legit. Like, if you walk away from that game thinking, well, Cowboys lose again is the same old story, I'm here to tell you otherwise. I think the Cowboys are pretty good. Now, question marks. Just like with everything here, I think that the Cowboys have a defensive issue. Pass rush was kind of lacking at times. Secondary, I mean, let's look at it. Brady threw for 379 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And yeah, I mean, you can say the same thing about the Bucks, right? Because Dak Prescott just looked like an MVP candidate. He threw for over 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, had 1 sack in that one. Brady had no sacks. So I think a very good performance for both quarterbacks, not just Dak. I think Tom Brady looked as good as ever. And with his weapons, I mean, Jesus Christ, Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, Rob Gronkowski, Gronk. And then, you look at Mike Evans, like he's no big deal. Only had what, three catches? He had 3 catches in this one, 6 targets. But I mean, if Mike Evans is like your third, fourth option on this team, it just tells you how loaded this offense really is. And on both sides, right? It was just like Brady and the Bucks versus Dak and the Cowboys. And I mean, you do expect a shootout, but there were some timely turnovers in key spots that kind of kept this from just going up to 40. 29-31 was the score, but this was, you can consider it a shootout. And with the Cowboys, going back to the Cowboys real quick, I think that if they're able to get on defense, get timely pass rush, execute maybe some pressure with your rookie linebacker, what's his name again? Micah Parsons. I don't want to screw up his name. Yeah, Micah Parsons. I thought it was Parson, but Parsons. So he looked pretty good too. They might have gotten some with him. So he looked like a really good linebacker. You can generate some pressure with him. Timely blitz. I think that this defense can hold up. They can hold up. Not saying they're going to be good, great, as long as they don't lose the game. They're able to get some key stops on third down, get the Cowboys back on the football field. I think they'll be okay. I think this team can win over 10 games. And with their division easily, right? So that's one key takeaway I got from last night's game. Now, the Bucks on the flip side, yeah, they allowed all of those passing yards to Dak, and that's without Zeke. So you have to be wondering what's going on there in the secondary for Tampa Bay. I know one of their safeties went down with injury, but I'm just looking at it from the standpoint of like how the Niners match up. How do they match up with these two teams, which we think are going to be in the playoffs this year? And to that, I think it's going to be a good matchup. I mean, I would put our defense up against theirs. And, I think we have the upper hand. But of course, that's not how matchups are, you're going up against their offense, and to be honest, it's I'm not saying I'm worried or anything at all. All I'm saying is it's going to be a very interesting year for sure, especially if the Cowboys enter the conversation in the NFC. So you have that. Cowboys lose again. Just blame special teams pretty much. Even though they made the kick late, but you miss. What did he really just miss like two field goals and a extra point? Right? Let me see. Dallas kicking. Yeah, he missed two field goals. So he went 3 of 5, and he missed the extra point, which kind of sucks. So there you have it. Special teams really bit them in the butt this week, but again, I anticipate the Cowboys to win more games, a lot more games this year. All right, so transitioning over to 49ers news. So the injury report came out, and to no one's surprise, Jalen Hurd, who made the 53-man roster, is not going to see his first chance of playing in the NFL. I mean, no surprise. Anyways, so Jalen Hurd out. Then you have Javon Kinlaw and Emmanuel Mosley as doubtful, I believe. Yeah, doubtful, meaning I don't even know if they practice, so meaning they probably won't play. If they haven't practiced yet, they're most likely not going to play. Then you have Kevin Givens that's questionable. He might play. So that's kind of the injury report. And with Kinlaw being on the injury report, there's a lot of talk about his knee issue because we've known about his knee issues since college. So why is it a big deal now? Well, the game I'm just talking about, Cowboys Bucks, you had players like Tristan Wirfs, who's the left tackle for the Bucks, and CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver for the Cowboys, play in this game. Well, how do they connect to Kinlaw? Here's how. So Kinlaw is in one of these weird positions because I think he'll forever just be connected with the DeForest Buckner trade, right? So you trade Buckner, you get that 13th whatever pick. You're able to sign Armstead, which sometimes goes unnoticed during these, back and forths. But you have Kinlaw, and for the most part, leading up to the 2020 draft, nobody thought that the Niners were going to like double down on defensive linemen. Let me remind everyone that at the time, the Niners needed a corner, they needed offensive line help, and they needed a wide receiver. Well, with that draft, you had, let me actually pull it up, 2020 NFL draft, because this is important to kind of lay out. So a lot of people were looking at the corner from Florida, CJ Henderson, if you remember. He was, I believe, the second corner taken in this draft. Ironically enough, the first corner was taken at number 3 overall, Jeff Okudah, who will be facing here in Detroit on Sunday. But Niners needed a corner. A lot of people were putting CJ Henderson in that conversation to the Niners. Made sense. Now, wide receiver was another issue the Niners needed to address. And you had CeeDee Lamb, you had your Jerry Jeudy's, you had Henry Ruggs. Henry Ruggs went to the Raiders at 12, and then the Niners pick came up. Well, guys like Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, and of course Brandon Ayuk were still on the board. the Niners swap picks with the Bucks. Now, before I even go any further, that was wide receivers on the board. And then you had offensive line help. Tristan Wirfs was there. Now, Tristan Wirfs was there. We didn't think Joe Staley would retire, right? And then a lot of people didn't know what would happen with McGlinchey. Maybe you could put Wirfs in at guard to solidify that offensive line. I'm not saying the Niners knew that Joe Staley was going to retire. Pretty sure they did. I'm sure they already had a deal with Washington to bring Trent Williams to San Francisco, which is why I think they passed on Tristan Wirfs. Solid pick, though, for the Bucks. Solid pick. But the Niners also got a solid player, Trent Williams. Like one of the best left tackles in the league. Now, the only reason it's still a conversation about that is not because we got Trent Williams, is because Mike McGlinchey is still on the right side, and a lot of people hate McGlinchey. I'm kind of like he's sometimes a miss, but for the most part, solid in the run game. And occasionally, if you leave him on the island for far too long, he's gonna get beat badly. And then with a Jimmy Garoppolo injury-prone quarterback, you will see quarterbacks get hurt, and which kind of highlights that, you know, that error with pass blocking. But for the most part, I think he's solid. But you still have issues at guard, right? Brunskill can be hit or miss at times, but I still think for his value, solid player. We got now Alex Mack. So to me, I understand now, fast forward like a year and a half, I understand why the Niners didn't draft Tristan Wirfs. Instead, they went Javon Kinlaw. They thought they needed to replace a Buckner. They got Armstead. They needed to replace a Buckner to keep this defensive line depth. Now, the only reason it's still coming up is because Javon Kinlaw has knee issues. I thought he played not great last year, but I thought he was solid. Now, is this a big year for Kinlaw? Yes. I want him to take it to the next level, generate more pressures and sacks. You start off the year hurt. I can understand why people are a little fuzzy early on, but to me, I still stay patient with it, and we'll see. Now, picking Kinlaw, then a few picks after, CeeDee Lamb gets taken off the board. So those are two really solid players that the Niners could have picked. Wirfs, Lamb. They said no. Kinlaw is our guy. And then Justin Jefferson, a few picks after CeeDee Lamb gets taken off. He goes to Minnesota. And then a few picks after that, Niners move up and they get Brandon Ayuk. I'm pretty happy with the pieces they have. I am. Now, the reason it makes it a little bit bitter, especially the Tristan Wirfs, is because last year they really won the championship, obviously, and that offensive line was solid, largely because Tristan Wirfs was a solid pick for them. So that makes it bitter. And then Tom Brady going to Tampa and wanting to come here, I mean, that makes it even worse, right? So that's the only reason I'm kind of bitter about the pick, about the swap. But I understand, like, there's always a method here. And when you take a step back, look at what the front office has done, there's always like a reason why they did it. And they knew they were going to get Trent Williams. That's all it comes down to. But yeah, that's kind of the connection between those players. I think will follow them until they retire, at least until, you know, Kinlaw's still here. Again, there's a lot of pressure in Kinlaw to succeed because of, the reasons I pointed out. The Forrest Buckner trade, Buckner durability is unmatched, right? And with him, having these knee issues, and then Tristan Wirfs thriving, CeeDee Lamb thriving, I can see why, fans are going back, revisiting this draft, saying, should we have done something different? And at that point of view, I understand why the front office picked to have Kinlaw, even though that wasn't my pick. My pick was to actually get a wide receiver there. I wouldn't have drafted Ayuk that high. Um, I didn't really think CeeDee Lamb would be the star he is now. Um, I knew Henry Ruggs was, I was a little iffy on Ruggs. Kind of still am. Jerry Judy, I loved his route running abilities, but to pick a receiver that high too was a little bit of a risk, and which is why I wish, CJ Henderson would have dropped them, but it all played out like it played out. And I think that if Kinlaw is healthy, he's a force to be reckoned with. I mean, he had a pick six last year. Did we forget about that? He had a pick six. I forget what game it was. It was like in New York or something. Something crazy. But that was crazy. A pick six by a defensive tackle. All I'm saying is we just gotta wait it out, see what happens with Kinlaw. But him entering the year in a doubtful situation isn't benefiting him right now. But I am excited to see the rest of these folks. Nick Bosa coming back. D Ford not in the injury report. I think that's the biggest surprise this whole season, right? Like, we've had a lot of consistent injury reports, Jalen Hurd being one of them, but the fact that D Ford is looking healthy, I'm actually surprised. That's like saying Jalen Hurd would be starting week 1. That's how shocked I am. And with the back issues entering camp, we thought, man, we'd be happy to get him after the bye. But the fact that he's coming in healthy is, I think, a surprise to us all. So, hope he's able to stay healthy there and thrive, because that's another one that, when he's there, when he's healthy, man, D Ford and Nick Bosa, I mean, who generates more speed off the edge and pressure than those two, right? So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun year. And I know I touched on it on my last video. I think the Niners come in here in Detroit and just dominate. I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. That's all I had to get off my chest. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. And as always, we'll see you on the next one. Peace.